And we are live now. It's happening. All right. Welcome to my co-host Firewalker for being
Hello,
here.
everybody.
This is a very exciting episode. We have a wonderful friend of mine, Scott, and his compatriot in the Dispel band, fantasy rock band that threads in all this wonderful Gothic literature into their text and into their music, and it's really fantastic. So, like to welcome them on Scott Dispel and Raven C. Welcome to the show.
We're honored.
Yes, thanks for having us.
You got it. You
Welcome.
got it. You got it.
Indeed.
Welcome.
Indeed.
Um,
Yeah.
so, and this is the first time you guys have interacted as well,
Yes.
correct?
Hello. Yes. No, it's
Yes.
Yeah.
good to see you guys. I watched a 10-minute video last night with my wife while we were chilling out. We watched the YouTube video about the making of Dispel,
Okay, great.
where you showed some of your videos and that you met Raven C because you didn't have a singer and just the whole bit. And I really loved the video. We had a great time watching it. So I was just excited to hear you guys talk about the formation of your band and everything. So cheers.
Well, I'm
Cool.
glad you
Yes,
watched
indeed.
that.
Yes, indeed.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it
we
was
have
dope. It was dope.
we
Yeah,
try
I
to put
wasn't
out a
aware of
lot of
that, so I'm gonna check that out for sure.
we
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
put out we try to put out a lot of content on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The imagery is very important to us, so we like to, really incorporate the imagery, YouTube videos, trying to be personable to people, like to connect, like, hey, we want you as part of our team. If you
We
like
have
this
a
stuff,
mutual friend that also she will be maybe appearing here shortly from Trance to the Sun was so keep your eyes peeled for that one as well.
Indeed.
So
Yeah, we're
yeah.
having a lot of musicians right now, and I'm happy about that because I
Hmm.
make music myself, you guys. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on here.
So I guess the genesis of this, Scott, you kind of cobbled together the idea for the band itself, and I have that question, and then of course I'd love to know as far as Raven C, like, did you ever consider yourself being that like diva vocalist person for like a Switchblade Symphony sort of thing or something? Like, was that something that ever occurred to you? I mean, I don't know.
That's such a good question, and the answer is actually no. I never
Okay.
expected myself to to become Raven C. But I was always a singer, but I
Hmm.
never had a genre or a brand. I was never
Hmm.
pigeonholed, and I
Right.
never fully ever knew where I would end up. So when I had an opportunity to do this project with Scott and dive into the world of fantasy goth music
Mm.
and take a stab at writing it and playing the part, I fully embraced it, and it's felt so fun and so natural, honestly.
It does
It's
feel
interesting that,
powerful when we hear some of your lyrics and stuff for
well,
sure.
yeah, and one thing I thought about that is like playing the part, right? Because it's almost as much about the set and setting that gives the music such a specific genre. I was wondering, Scott, if you could tell me a little bit more about what the connection is between the type of music you make in the medieval period and just the iconography that seems to be so interesting to people like the Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you guys have a certain aesthetic, and I'd like to hear you tell us about like what that means.
sure, that's a great question. So, you know, to us collectively, I think the imagery is as important as the music, which may sound crazy to say something like that, but I began back in the day playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that just exploded my mind to the imagination. And as a creative, that's such a wellspring to I don't know, to take ideas from. And
Oh, yeah.
so
Massive amount of information there. Yeah.
right on. And then as I got older and I did my different projects and bands would break up because the singer's insane or whatever the case may be. Nothing, no offense, Raven C. Or the bass player's in
Wow, watch
jail.
out. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, right.
you know, I finally got around to
Rock and
writing
roll
my own.
has its drawbacks, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, you got to give the
Lots of
drummer a
egos.
break every now and then, right? You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Lots of egos to deal with.
Uh-huh.
And just when I got older, I decided I wanted to write my own music and what would I most want to hear. And I started checking out bands like Ghost, and I always listened to Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath and Rush, who made these really interesting conceptual albums singing about wizards and dragons. And I'm like, I want to do that. So here we are.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, because my brother had all the records with Eddie on it from Iron Maiden,
Oh yeah.
and their whole universe was so like it was amazing to us as kids because every time you got the record, you wanted to see the album cover and the art as much as you wanted to hear the music.
Right.
Fair.
And I think we may have lost some of that intrigue as far as like wanting to see the album art as much as you want to read the lyrics that are
We
printed
have
on it,
lost some
which
of
I think
that.
you guys do. Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Steve Panetti like brought me over his house, and this guy we broke into his older brother's stuff, and he had like the Number of the Beast like vinyl, and we were like, "What the fuck is that? Like, what's up with that, dude?" You know. And when you don't even know what's going on necessarily, but you want to know like what's happening with that, you know,
Sure.
in
Yeah. You
third
want to
grade.
know
Yeah.
the story behind the music. And I
Yeah.
can remember
Yeah.
looking at albums
Oh,
or the
you got a cat
gatefolds.
too there. Okay. All right.
Nice.
That's cool.
We
All right.
all
Oh, you
have
got a
black
black cat
cats.
too. Okay.
Right.
Bonus points.
No goth show would be complete without a black
Without
cat
That's right.
showing
two
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
black
we're the real
cats in the
deal.
mix. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
requirement
Yes, indeed.
in
Yes,
Dispel
indeed.
Yeah.
to
For
have
sure.
a
Right.
black cat.
Right.
Yeah. We're not
Indeed. That's
posers.
dope.
Well,
Right.
Kurt,
Right. Yeah.
Kurt
Yeah.
Russell popped in the last podcast too, so he likes to be part of it, I guess. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Cat friendly show here.
Hmm.
Indeed. So, all right. So basically, the medieval aspect interests me because you guys had a lot of Templar imagery, and a lot of that stuff also connects to the occult community. So I thought that was an interesting
Oh,
thing to kind of put together
yeah,
because a lot of
yeah.
our early works and grimoires come from that
I
period,
can't
and a
believe
lot
I
of the
never asked
imagery
you that.
suggests
Yeah.
it suggests a little bit of a connection with that. So is that something that you have read up on or interested in?
Well, yeah, I always loved the Templars and just the medieval era. I must have been reincarnated from then because I just can't get enough of it. But
Okay, I was actually going to ask you that. I was like,
yeah,
dude, do you think? Okay,
yeah.
I was going to ask you that.
Sure, I believe in
Okay,
multiple lives. Absolutely. The soul migrates to
indeed.
different
Okay.
bodies, in my
Well,
opinion.
Yes.
should I
But
ask this
that's another
question?
topic entirely.
It's
Right.
yeah, we can go off on a tangent.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, have you read Foucault's Pendulum and that whole Scott? Have you read that or?
No, I haven't. I have not.
Well, it's just all about the Templars and then the whole
Oh,
the
yeah.
Lurk currents
Wonderful.
and the whole. But yeah, so that's where we get the origin of some of that Templar imagery from.
So what's
Is the occult.
interesting about that whole Templar connection, though I loved it, that was not my original vision of, well, we'll focus on Templars. And what happened is there's a local, I don't know if you're familiar with the SCA, and they do like medieval battles and reenactments, and they sew in that, and they do blacksmithing and all those things for the medieval
Oh.
area. So I met up with that group and met up with a character named Levi, and his persona in that group was the Templar Knight. And I told him what
Oh,
we
so
were
Nice.
that's the guy in
doing.
your videos.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And
Cool.
so he
Okay.
jumped on board and was just a natural, just like Ravensea. It just fit perfect. And so that's kind of how that developed.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, and also a question I had for you, Ravensea. Did you feel like, because I was watching a couple of the videos and it almost seemed like you were like a goth medieval Parker Posey to me.
Oh, dude.
I don't know if that hits at home for you, but like it was just, or like the lady from The Craft, whatever her name is, the witch from The Craft. You kind of had a
Isabel.
little bit of that vibe. Yeah, it was awesome. I appreciated that. So you have a background in singing from early on in life. How did
Yeah.
you
What
become
other
an
what other
artist?
types of music did you get into? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, I never really landed on one real genre. So I've really just been a music nerd and a history nerd. I've just,
Mm.
over this, I think that's another
Oh,
reason why this project always just resonated with me and felt really natural diving into it. So
it
I
fits a niche of the history and
Yeah, the
yeah.
history and the folklore. So I was always really
Mm-hmm.
into folklore,
Mm.
because I really liked world music and ethnomusicology. That was always kind of my thing, and I ended up
Cool.
studying
Yeah, yeah.
that in college.
For
As
my
Oh
cousin
wow.
Joey,
Okay.
can we say what ethno music
For sure,
musicality?
yeah,
Yeah,
ethnomusicology, it's just the study
musicality.
of the cultural use of music,
Okay.
the different cultures
Like
engage music.
when folks go in the Appalachian Mountains and they do the song catching, and they're
Right.
trying to gather cultural songs from different areas, and that's kind of part
From
of
an
the science of that.
anthropological sense, almost.
Yeah,
Right, right. The
yeah.
science of
Got it.
collecting
Yeah.
songs. Okay, and
It's
different vibes. Yeah. Okay, I
That's
get it.
right. It's
Okay.
anthropology and,
Right.
the human use and engagement of music. And it's an academic study. And so that was always really my interest in particular, African music. That was always kind of in a niche interest of mine. And I ended up studying
Right.
that. As a singer, just in everyday life, I'm a pop rock singer.
Right.
But
Right.
as
Right.
a musical person, I would say I'm a folklorist, and I'm really, really into, the other layers of using music. And if you look at what Dispel does, we dress up, we bring on this whole aesthetic. We bring on, not it's not just about the music itself. It's not just about the sounds we're making. It's about the everything. And in aspects of ethnomusicology or in cultural uses of music, in music traditions, they wear masks, they dress up, they honor their ancestors, they honor
No, oh,
history.
yeah.
And so, in a way, that's also what we're doing. We're just doing the same thing in the modern age. And
Yeah, it's like ancestral music, but in the modern age. Yeah,
And
I
you'd be
got
yeah,
you.
happy to know that we became best friends when we realized we're the only two like goth hip hop people like that you're gonna you
I
don't run
know.
into a
People.
lot of those
Yeah.
fusions happening, but it does
Like you're
happen out
wearing
there.
all black and you work in a voodoo shop. Why are you rapping at me? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
And then me and
what's
him, yeah,
happening?
because I
Yeah,
was a
I know.
DJ and we started talking. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
And
love
that,
that.
I mean,
Right.
music for me, music has always been a language of connection and community and
Exactly.
universal energy. And
Absolutely.
so when I hear you talk about that, that's awesome because
That's we're
when
that. Yeah.
people yeah, when
Mm.
people study the histories of music all around the world, they're studying something that makes everybody shut up and move and forget about their mind, right?
Interesting.
Because when
Yeah.
you hear
Yeah.
music, music is something that brings everybody together. If you put on a dope beat, are you telling me people are going to be racist? They're going to be dancing.
I don't
Do you know
like
what I'm
race.
saying?
No.
I believe in that. So I think that music can heal the world. So I appreciate that. Yeah. That's dope.
Amazing. Yeah, there's no limits. There's
Right.
no borders to, genres. Like, music is meant to be fluid.
So are
Music is meant to evolve, and I think we're just you know, we just kind of take that and run with it in our current project. And I'm also
Indeed.
a music therapist. That's my day job. And
oh
so I use
nice. Okay.
music to, I use music for purposes other than, just entertainment. I use music for
Right.
healing. I use music to help
Right.
people connect with themselves and with each other.
Would it be fair to
Indeed.
say you do what you love for a living?
I absolutely do what I love for a living.
Yes, I
I'm
get
very
it. Me
lucky.
too. I know it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great.
We're all kind of making magic for a living over here.
There
Yeah.
it
Good,
is.
We are.
good stuff.
Scotty
Yeah.
too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's
Interesting.
great. That's
I
Yeah,
great.
like
it's
that.
fantastic. So are you calling us from the motherland, from the African continent right now? Is that?
No, no, I'm home now. But
Oh, okay.
if you had reached out to me a couple years ago, I probably would have been tuning in
Oh,
from
I see.
either
Okay.
South
Okay.
Yeah. I was
Africa.
wondering what time it was. Actually, I was gonna ask like,
Oh,
what
yeah, I
time is
had
it?
no
I didn't know.
idea. Okay, that's how far
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
I'm on with
That's
your
cool.
information right now. But I
Yeah,
catch up with Scott every 6 months or so. So,
About
we
right.
don't see each other that often. Yeah.
yeah.
But since you
So,
So
mentioned South Africa, I just wanted to say
mhm.
Raven C put together a great crew of luminaries there and did this awesome music video in South
Oh,
Africa. So
incredible.
if you
Okay.
haven't seen that,
give
I
us the
highly
Well,
recommend.
can
information for
we?
that, and we're gonna leave that in the
We're
show
gonna
notes.
leave it
I
in
would
the
love to
show
see that.
notes. We're
Yeah.
gonna leave it in the show
Indeed. Yeah. I
notes for
want to see
sure.
that. I
Yeah,
want
I
to see
want to
that for
see it
sure.
too. Yeah, I'd really like to see that. I think that's where you get a lot of your musicology and that whole ethno. Like they're so it's so vibrant there, right? I mean,
Oh my God, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very vibrant, musical, colorful place.
You're the
Yes.
perfect person to ask this. Are we allowed to like die onward, or are they bad news now? We're not. They're not okay. I mean, I don't know. I heard some
I don't
mixed.
know.
But
I don't know.
oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I heard that they did some dicey choices with some things in their media production or something like that. So,
Who are
um,
we talking about?
die onward. I think
Oh,
you
I don't even know
freaky
who that
and I
is.
like you a lot. No, you're not familiar. Oh, okay.
Oh no, I have heard that. I've
Yeah,
heard that
It's a
band.
good
Yeah,
song.
Don plays that at work. Yeah, I know that band. Actually,
yeah.
which weird enough because I wouldn't know that unless someone like you would play it to me. And Don has that
It would be
kind
me to
of
play that. Yeah, yeah.
library of stuff. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I heard that they
Are
played
there? Oh,
some
they're a
like
South African
incendiary
band. That's why
stuff
you're
that
asking.
wasn't like I don't know
Right.
what's going on. So
Okay.
I didn't know if you had any like actual like.
I don't have I mean I know of them, of course. I know that they're
Right.
Mhm,
one of the
mhm.
few I believe they're Afrikaans. They're one of the few Afrikaans
Right.
groups to really make it big
Yeah.
Right. That's
internationally.
why I asked about them. Yeah, I didn't know if you had any
But I'm
insider.
actually not really familiar with all the controversy. So I gotta brush up on that
Yeah,
actually.
that's why I didn't know where to land on it, and I used to really like their music, and I still do. So I'm like, what do I do?
No,
I don't know.
that's a fair. I mean, that's a fair question because you had somebody you thought might know about it. A
Yeah.
question I have for you, Scott. So you guys had an EP out a few years back about Dante's Inferno, and then you have a full album out. That's one of the things I actually wanted to ask you about the most is because that interested me as a conceptual album
Mhm.
because in my practices as an occultist or as a magician, so many of the hierarchies of things matter to us, where there's a gradation of energy, whether it's descent or ascent, or it's this side of the tree, that side of the tree, the Kabbalah. There's so many things that have these levels. And I wanted to know, like, what you thought of, what was the seed that grew into that record? And could you tell us about that project?
Another great question. So, um, always loved conceptual albums because I'm a nerd, so I would dive into the lyrics. And
Mhm.
I remember the times of holding the album cover, looking at the art, looking at the gatefold. Are there secrets in here? What's it telling me about the
Right.
music? So on the side note, when we designed the album, we have this great graphic artist, Barry Gelderblom, who also did some music. He did a vocal portion at the end of the album. That's him, and he's a South African.
Nice.
But anyways, we designed the packaging
Mhm.
for the open up the gatefold, and it's this beautiful landscape of his version of the Inferno.
Right.
Graphics throughout the CD and album. As far as coming up with the conceptual album, so
Can I ask you right there though? Can I stop you there for a second?
yeah,
So
yeah,
are you at the entrance to Dante and Virgil are entering? Is it
yes,
that visual, or
yes.
is it like all the layers happening?
You're
Like
standing on the
they
precipice, looking
the
out
press.
at the
Oh,
landscape of hell.
oh, okay,
The
I
river
got you.
Styx is below you. It's a
Just
beautiful piece
Right.
of art.
just
Um,
for our viewers, yeah, they would like
That's
to,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, for Cousin Joey, we like to describe, if we're talking
Right,
about
for
something that
cousin
not
Joey,
everybody
yeah,
knows about, we want to kind of level the playing field and at
right.
least ask you to describe
Hmm.
what it is that you're talking about.
very good. Yeah,
Um,
I wanted to.
Dante's Inferno, give us a quick rundown of that and then tell us how you kind of like, made it into a record and what that was like.
So the inspiration was I seen this performance by the Cleveland Orchestra, who's like one of the best world class orchestras. They did it's called Holst, and he did the planets. So he did a
Oh,
conceptual
yeah,
symphony of
love the
all the
planets, yeah,
planets.
yeah.
So Jupiter
Hmm.
Oh,
has its
dope.
own
Okay.
sound with the horns and the brass and the
Right.
bass. And so I'm like, well, I'd like to do that. So when I saw a dusty version of Dante's Inferno sitting on my bookshelf, the universe slapped me in the face, and that became the next conceptual album. And then he did the planets. Why don't I do every layer of hell?
Yes,
So we
Right.
got limbo, lust,
every,
greed, gluttony,
every deadly
anger,
sin.
violence, fraud, treachery. And Dante, when he wrote them in his book, he did them in levels of intensity. So the worst is
Right.
treachery. So
Right.
that's
Oh,
how it
okay.
happened. And then when we wrote the music, we really tried to put in the atmosphere we felt would
Right.
be on that plane of existence. So like
Right. Just kind
for,
of
yeah.
meditating on each plane and then
Hmm.
figuring out what that sounds like in how it emits from you. So yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And
yes,
was that a
absolutely.
collective thing with you, Raven C, as well? Like, did you feel each song being a singular entity to what it was supposed to be focused on?
Absolutely. It was
That's so cool.
it was actually easier that way to songwrite. You know, sometimes like
Hmm.
when you write a song, you kind of have to pull something out of nothing. And it really helped to actually have this focus, this very, very distinct story, aesthetic, background, you know, the literature that each song came from was just so rich. The songs wrote themselves, really, for each layer of hell. It was just so rich.
Did you find any particular song, either for both of you? This is for both of you. Either in any one of those harder than another one, like, or one was a real, or it brought up certain emotions, maybe more so on the vocals, maybe, I don't know,
I know that's such a good question. That's tough. I
Yeah.
because
do
they're all
think,
so different, right? Because
Yeah.
so that's
yeah,
why.
I do wonder if maybe Journey to Limbo was one of the more
Mhm.
powerful writing experiences for me because it's
Mhm.
the entrance
Yeah.
Right.
into the
Yeah.
the realms of hell. It's like
Well, it's like walking the crossroads, right? You
it
are
is
entering through the crossroads
exactly
into a shadow work experience
exactly
that can
crossing the threshold.
revolutionize, but you have to kill things to make things grow, right? So
Exactly. Yes.
it's a very banishing, a very like releasing karmic experience. I can understand that being a heavy thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows the story, yeah, the beginning part is the scariest part. That's why I brought it up earlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like when he looks out there and he's like, "Holy shit, really? Like, am I really doing this?"
Mhm.
Yeah, we're
Wow.
going to Mordor. We're
Yeah.
getting ready. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
getting
And
ready.
then he's got a
Very
Greek
Absolutely.
good.
philosopher to help him. Like, who's this
Yeah,
guy? Like
yeah,
what?
yeah,
What's this
yeah.
guy gonna do to help me? Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing, dude. He ain't gonna
Mm.
do anything.
It's
And it's
it's
But
a
yeah.
our first album, you know, it's all about the hero's journey. Our very first project together was about the hero's
Mm-hmm.
journey. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember just really resonating with that energy of embarking on a journey, you know, shedding an old self, it growing into a new self, just
Right.
self discovery. I love that.
You throw down the fool card, Darren.
Hold on, let me find it. No, wait. No, I'm not
Right,
gonna
right.
do
Oh,
that.
the
Yeah, he's got it. Yeah, yeah.
fool.
You throw
Yeah.
down the fool card and you're on your way. So
That's my
Scott, let me ask you
favorite
this.
tarot card. The
This
Fool.
is from the
Yeah,
Penny Dreadful TV show, actually, right here. If you're
nice.
all curious, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like the fool card. A lot of people have called me a fool. It's unrelated. Anyway, Scott. Uh, no,
It is.
hey, come
It's
on.
a
It's all
journey of
right.
the
It's all
fool,
right.
is what you're describing.
Yeah,
It's the hero's
yeah.
journey.
No, it's true.
It
And that's
Exactly.
dope too because that's also a path working experience. It almost seems like your projects seem to be a path working exercise that you invoke as a record.
Yes.
fair
That's
is.
assessment.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sigurd's
That's very cool.
journey, Hermod's
Yeah,
journey,
that's dope, man. I appreciate that.
Odysseus. I mean, you can go crazy with that. Cross culturally,
Yeah,
it's a
Yeah,
big.
that's cool.
yeah, I would consider it a life's work, like Raven C said, she
Yeah,
loves what she does. I love what I do, and this is what I want to do most. So,
that's so
All
cool.
right. Well,
tie
that's
into
great.
it.
Yeah, that's it. That's
So,
it.
okay, a quick question about like we like to do origin stories because it gives somebody a chance to tell us a story. And sometimes in walking the crossroads, you start out as somebody who doesn't know what they're going to do, doesn't know why they're creative, and doesn't always have like you have obstacles to becoming creative and owning your sovereignty as a creative person. So we like to hear a little bit about that because sometimes
Like
I think
someone
that sheds
walks in
light
and
on what
tells you
it's
you're a
like.
DJ.
Hey, you did really do that. You're like,
I
dude,
did do that though. I
what
did
are
do
you
that. Yeah.
doing? I'm like, nothing. I'm making some beats. You're like, you want to be a DJ again? I'm like, yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
awesome because I
that's it.
wasn't really
There
ready
it
for
is.
that. Yeah,
There it is.
sometimes
Yeah.
Legwell walks in and opens the door. But okay, so Scott, how did you start in music and what's that whole story about?
Sure, I guess the condensed version. We'll try to make condensed version.
Yeah.
Very Gemini, so great hands. So uh gravitated to drumming as a little kiddo. So I
Right.
pictures of me with a beat up uh Beatles drum set and just been playing my
Oh yeah.
whole damn life and
Right.
started DJing on the side. That actually made me money so I could support my other artistic talents, working on
So.
bands and getting kicked out of bands and vans breaking down and touring the
Mhm.
country and touring Europe and just wonderful music history. Played for some hardcore punk for a while and then decided I'd learn music properly. Went to Cleveland State, learned, got a music degree, and then I interned at a
Okay.
recording studio called Lava Room Recording Studio. Shout out to them. So if you're in Cleveland, hit them up.
So.
It's just been a
Right.
journey. So started writing music, and I needed a singer, and I was at a drum circle in a cathedral, and
Oh my
met
goodness.
Well,
Ravency.
that right there it is.
Yeah. Stop.
Yeah,
Stop. Let's get a video of that. Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so I'll hand it off to
Isn't that
Ravency.
perfect?
You can tell your story now.
Right. Okay.
So music is in your life 360 in all aspects, pretty much.
Yeah.
Scott.
So how did
True
you start
statement.
doing
Yeah,
music, Rick?
Is that for me?
that's
Yeah.
for you.
Yes.
Yeah,
How did
that's
you
over
get
to
into
you.
music yourself?
Right over to you.
Yes,
It
indeed.
it you know it when it all started when I was a little kid. I was just always singing to myself and singing to the trees and singing to the animals and uh,
Sounds like my wife. Yeah. Yeah. Just a
yeah.
natural singer. You just have to sing all the time. Yeah.
I would just, there was, I don't know, the earth's voice was coming through me. I was always a very, highly sensitive kiddo. So I was just always singing and making up
Yeah.
songs. And
Right.
I suppose I was overheard by my family and some neighbors. And so eventually I was signed up for voice lessons. I'm very grateful that my family really, they really pushed me to stick with it. I remember being really young and kind of resisting the voice lessons because I wasn't interested in singing scales and, the
Right.
pedagogy of it. I just wanted
Right.
to sing to the
Yeah.
trees, but I am glad that I was pushed to stick with it because I eventually developed a voice skilled enough that that also
You
made me some money. I was able to
Wait, no,
pay.
like I heard you saying you're a professional singer. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I could hear that. No, that I got that.
have
Yeah.
you thought
Exactly,
of?
exactly. And
Did you ever
so,
think of going into like being a like or trying to be a coloratur or soprano or any of that sort of nonsense like when you were younger or?
not really. I I don't know. I don't really know. But what ended up happening was like I joined a choir.
Hmm.
And then I just always sang, pop and rock music. I guess that was just always what was available to me at the time. And then I eventually went to college to study vocal performance and music therapy. I knew I wanted to marry all of my weird
There it is.
interests. I wanted to sing, but also help people, but also incorporate the folklore, the anthropological study of music, and the ethnomusicology interest. So I wanted to marry it all together, and I thought music therapy was a really good field to choose. So I studied at Berklee College of Music in Boston,
Okay.
and so I did a dual major in voice and music therapy. And when it came time to look for an internship for my music therapy
Hmm.
career, I landed in Cleveland. That was also
Okay.
just kind of by chance.
Right.
And while living, I moved out to Cleveland by myself. I had never been there before. While adjusting to life in this new city, I discovered the drum circle community, and I started going regularly, and that's where I met Scott, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, you
That's
you do
dope.
have a range that you could do. I mean, some of what like I guess the last album too has a little aria esque sort of vibes to it. Some of it,
I
so.
guess Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was able to tap into, I've definitely taken classical lessons, theater. I've just dabbled in a little bit of everything, and the Inferno album allowed me to really play and
You did.
tap
Yeah,
into a
yeah.
little bit of
And
everything.
you guys had some good writing with that too, as well, too. It really gave the template to kind of dance along with, So
Thank you.
dancing figuratively and metaphorically as well. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Also, I think using sound, because you went to school for sound healing, and I think even with the ethno studies, like the world outside of some of the more developed continents, I don't know. It's just people use music for healing, for spiritual communion, for collective like community rituals
Exactly.
that galvanize the spirit and the power of each other together, and it kind of keeps everyone going together.
Absolutely.
And that, and also the power, the technology of sound healing is something that we've also talked about with some of our other guests,
We
and we're
have talked
very
about
interested in that.
tonality as healing.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, Hawthorne's daughter, our first one,
Yeah.
which we should have her on again because y'all would have a fun conversation too. I mean,
Oh, that would
because
be
she
so
does
great.
that as well.
She does. Her song that she did was um, "Voice of a Thousand Grandmothers" or something of that
Oh, I
nature.
love
Yeah, yeah. It was
Song of a
like the
Thousand
pain of a
Grandmothers. Yeah.
thousand grandmothers. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like the divine feminine just like
amazing.
emerging again. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was it was just yeah, it
Love
was
that.
dope. So I
It
I
sounded
dig
like
that.
a kind of a cry
Yeah,
from the heart of like of ancestral anguish or something of that nature. And she's
indeed.
Peruvian. She's fantastic. Yeah. So it's very
Amazing.
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that sounds like some of the stuff that you would be involved in. What do you actually do day to day? Like you said you'd use sound healing. What kind of services do you
Oh yeah.
provide?
That's it. Yeah. So.
It's a little bit different from sound healing.
Mhm.
What I actually use is
Okay.
preferred music. Whatever the client I'm working with, whatever music they love, whether it's
Okay.
Pink Floyd or
Right. Okay.
traditional Appalachian music, for
Okay.
example,
Right.
I bring
Right.
that into, our interactions, and we engage in music together using the music that they love, the music that's
Right.
part of their tribe, and
Okay. Okay.
then we process whatever it is that they need to process. I'm just kind of there as a guide, a musical guide, to help them process whatever it is they need to work on.
That's dope. I don't think that's an interesting new way of doing healing, is it? Because you're getting them comfortable and open because the sound that they love that truly moves them is going through them. And then you can do some healing work because they're already, processing what they love. That's dope. That's dope.
Absolutely. I
I like that.
do I do incorporate a bit of sound healing in some of my
Right.
sessions. It depends if it's, the right time.
Right.
But I'll do a lot of, meditations with my singing bowls, and I have a tongue drum, and we do chakra cleansing. I do all the weird stuff too.
That's dope.
I
That's
think
dope.
that's great. You have like all like a little bag of your stuff. Like what's up? Like
Yeah,
all
Right.
kind of
Just
like
like you,
exactly.
Darren.
spirit
You
callers and
go in.
I got
Yeah.
stuff too. Yeah, I got all kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a bag of
I
stuff
got
with
a
you
I
too.
got a
So
doctor's bag that I carry. I walk in with
yeah. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
cowbell that's this big, and I'm like, hang on.
Right.
Ask Scott. Scott's seen
Yeah.
it.
Sir, do
Scott's
I
seen
need
my
the
stuff.
cowbell? No, I know this is. Yeah.
We smudged my house plus.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had to
All
do
right.
some work in there. He has some vibrant nature based energies around, and that's nothing to be crabby about because it's pretty damn cool. You
No,
know.
that's dope. That's
Yeah.
dope. So,
Yeah.
okay, what are you guys working on now? If you guys are
Yeah.
making anything now, and what are you guys up to into the future? What's going on next for you guys, man?
So it's a great question. We're theatrical. You see some of our videos, and I will send you guys a link for this. But we decided, wow, so how do we want to perform this album? Well, we're theatrical anyways. Boy, this would make a great theatrical. So I reached out to a local playwright, and we wrote a script, and we want to turn it into a full-on musical theatrical, like Cirque du
Like the
Soleil
Who.
meets the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
All right. All right.
So less Tommy, more Rocky Horror Picture Show.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's cool, man.
This is
That's
the
so
cool.
first
so
rock opera I can think of.
difficult part has been kind of breaking into that theatrical community, finding dancers, finding directors. I got blessed to find an awesome playwright right out of the gate. But the rest of the
Cool. That's
process is
awesome.
tough. So we're taking steps into the theatrical community, meeting people, communicating, getting their feel, trying to attract those luminaries into the project, to the vision. But we have the
Sure.
music, we have the script, So right now, I've got our third guitar audition is tomorrow. I got a bunch of bass players who are interested, so we're going to put the live band together and then start putting our
Awesome.
creative team together.
Do you need any beatboxers? Because I'm really like people don't know, but like I'm a really good. I'm just saying, like if
All
there's
right,
anybody beatboxing at some point, just
Yeah, for
holler.
the
you're my
gluttony
you're my dude.
track, we need a little
Yeah,
beatbox on that.
I'm
All
your
right,
dude. If you need a
Yeah,
beatbox at the end, I'm just
yeah,
all
yeah.
right, you're my
I'm
dude.
your dude. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's and it almost sounds like this obviously, like Darren was telling me earlier when we were talking about you, like this is a magnum opus. Like this is a
Sure.
grand
Yeah.
exercise of
So
your
would
life.
it
Like
be
this is such a
Inferno
big
then?
deal.
Would be the rock opera would be the Inferno or
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay,
With
cool.
a scene for every level of hell.
Oh yeah, awesome.
I mean, that kind of work sounds amazing.
That
I really
sells
give you
itself
guys
right
kudos
there.
for
I
that.
would go to that. I don't even
That's
know
so
if I didn't
cool.
know who
You
you
could do
were.
a
I'd go.
play out of it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
you could
what's
do
going
like
on
a
with that? I want
performance
to
out
see.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
that
love
sounds
like
so cool.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch live too. That's great to see. You know what I'm saying? So anything like that, that's just going to be fantastic.
Call
And
it Hedwig and the Angry Templar. That sounds good. Yeah,
oh, Angry and the Angry Templar. Yeah, maybe.
yeah, the Angry Templar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
honestly,
dope.
That's
That's
it's
cool.
fantastic.
it's a big swing. The financing for it, we're kind of struggling, but we're applying for grants and we're going to keep at it, whatever it takes. So,
Yeah,
Well,
that's cool, man.
I
Yeah, kudos.
having spent a lot of my younger years and returned to Cleveland many times, I can tell you that a lot of smaller theater productions do well. So I mean, in my experience, so that let's. I think that would be one of the more interesting things to do in Cleveland. Are you going to tour with it, or what do you want to do?
yeah, ultimately, I would love to do that. So, I would love to
Mhm.
do like a Cleveland, Akron, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Detroit, you know,
And if you could make it
absolutely.
to New Orleans, I know everyone in New
I'm
Orleans. I
down.
could tell you 85 people that would go to that.
Bro,
I'm down.
I know a place you could leave flyers.
Yeah.
Just where I know a place. I know
All
a place.
right.
I
Or
might have to smuggle them in myself and give them to everybody.
or
But
you
yeah,
could
Sweet.
they could perform it at the Goat too. I bet the Goat would love to do
oh
that.
for
Yeah.
sure, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Goat. Yeah, for
As
sure.
a performance piece,
Mhm.
even as a smaller or larger scale, because I'm sure you have a large scale plan. But however you get it going on, like yeah, I think that would work in a lot of places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the goal is to
There's a ton of people that are interested in what you do. So
good. Yeah,
that's
I
cool.
hope so. And
Yeah.
anybody watching this who is maybe theatrical or has a talent or a seamstress or a choreographer, please reach out to us if this sounds like something you'd like to do because
Yeah,
we're
for
looking
all my
for
Cleveland heads and spooky people and interesting
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
artists, anyone in the Cleveland area or tri-state area,
yeah.
reach out to Scott. His Insta will be on there, as well as the band's Insta and Raven Seas as well. So that's fantastic, really. I'm thinking if people wanted to cut in and see what's one of your favorite tracks that would be the one for them to really YouTube. What would be the one that you would say would be the winner?
Well, there if you're
Or one
more
or two
into
or three, but like
it, I say our goth rock anthem is Modal Consequence. That was our
mhm.
first music video. We filmed it in the
Right.
cultural
Mhm.
gardens in Cleveland, and it's just viewed a lot, and it's just cool. It's just cool.
Cool.
It's
Well,
got that
Dope.
vibe.
keep that
That's one
love
we
going,
nailed.
dude. Seriously.
And then
Yeah.
our like ballad that Raven C did in South Africa, I think is a beautiful piece of art too. So those
Mhm.
two
Oh, I
would
love
be,
that one too. Yeah.
and that's Classes Heresy. So it filmed in
Nice.
South Africa. It was just amazing.
The
Mm.
That's
landscape
so
is
cool.
really, really beautiful. So.
Yeah,
Inspiring.
y'all have a lot of stuff on YouTube. So if anybody's just looking like Dispel,
PEL.
DISPEL,
Yeah.
Dispel,
Music.
and just on
and you will
YouTube
see some
music,
of
put the
those.
word music because the word Dispel comes up with a lot of different stuff. But if you put Dispel music, They come up right away. You can see a bunch of stuff right away. So yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
I
and the
highly recommend it.
videos are very, I think, profound in their kind of goth rocky sort of vibe, and very well done. And I think they really flesh out the music and stuff too. Really,
Thank you.
It's too bad that this is almost over because we're gonna do another show just about Dungeons and Dragons, bro.
Oh,
Oh,
We didn't
nice.
cool.
bring it up.
oh yeah,
Hit me up.
We didn't bring it up. Right? We got to do like a whole like monster manual
Yeah.
expose.
yeah, we're
You know
gonna,
what I mean?
yeah,
Where are
because I
they
like to
now?
talk
You
about
know?
like it's okay.
Yeah.
I talk to people about campaigning and shit. Where I walk out the door, they're like, "Hey, bro, I got female DMs and shit." I'm like, "Wow, really? How's that even a thing?"
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
Indeed.
hey, can we ask this question? So, what would everyone's character class be if you were in Dungeons and Dragons?
Paladin. I always play
You're
paladins.
obviously paladin. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Raven, see, what do you
help me
think?
out, Scott. Actually,
Uh,
my
you,
my husband could answer this for me.
yeah, you'd
What
be
did you say?
a druid, female
A
Oh,
druid,
druid.
druid.
or
Yeah.
sorcerer. You're the sorceress Raven Sea. I mean, it's just you're
Yeah.
the sorceress.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorceress. All right. And then I would, of course, be an illusionist slash assassin. I think that was my standard one that I would do.
Nice.
Dual class, of course. Yeah. And
I think
how
that
about you there,
I
Crazy
think
Legs?
that
What do you think?
I don't know if this fits, but I would just be a catalyst for evolution that will kill you, but you'll never see it. So maybe an assassin. An
That's called
Nice.
assassin
the
of
Two
ignorance.
assassins.
Yeah, an
Nice.
assassin of
thanks.
ignorance. I would like to be that guy.
Microphone
Yeah.
killer. Microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
nice.
Ghost face killer.
Nice.
You know, yeah,
It's
yeah,
called a
yeah.
gelatinous cube, sir. That's what that's called.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Shadow killer, ancestral truth bringer, firewalker. You know, that's me. Yeah,
Nice,
indeed.
nice.
Indeed.
Like an
Well, I
evil
really
cleric.
this has been super fun, you
Yeah.
guys.
Yes,
And
indeed.
yeah, well, Scott, we'll have to have you back, and Raven, see if you want to come back and talk about D&D. I don't know if you do.
Dude, I want to do a whole thing about what she does with the ethno music studies. That's a whole other situation we could
Okay,
delve into. That's
okay,
dope.
all right, yeah,
That's dope.
yeah,
You know,
cool.
it's funny.
All right.
Indeed.
Since you mentioned the D&D, a quick side note, I actually play online with a group out of Canada, and they're all
Mm.
musicians. So they're all in different
That's
bands in
cool.
Canada. Everybody who plays is musicians, female
Okay,
dungeon
see, I'm
masters.
telling
Called
you, 360 with
awesome.
the music, Scott.
It's
360.
awesome.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Love
Well,
that.
good vibes all the way around. Thank you, Raven C. Scott, for being here, and we'll see you again on Walking the Crossroads.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye, guys.